Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Monday, the 18th day of March. Some people may be hearing two of us today, Heidi. It's a big drinking day yesterday. We're going to be talking about that.
Do you hear in doubles when you've been drinking?
I'm not sure how that works, but we've got a story about that later in the program here. National Awkward Moments Day today. Is this kind of an awkward moment? I hope not. National Lacy Oatmeal Cookie Day. National Sloppy Joe Day. I've heard those called a lot of things, by the way. I wonder why Sloppy Joe. I've heard some call them taverns.
Yeah.
Barbecues.
There's all
a lot
sorts of things.
Also, Biodiesel Day today and National Supreme Sacrifice Day today. All of those things. And I'm excited to chat with EddieDeezen. He was Eugene in the giant blockbuster musical Grease back in 1978. And then he reprised that role in 82 for Grease 2. He's also on credit for being the world's first computer nerd in a movie called War Games. Remember that? Mm-hmm. There'd never been a computer nerd before Eddie. And then he's got a bunch of voiceover work, too. He was the voice of a kid in Polar Express.
He's a brilliant guy.
Super talented guy, and I'm so excited. Just lining up the interview, he's been so nice. So I'm excited to visit today with EddieDeezen for Movie Star Monday.
Do you have a pretty good sense of humor? You might like this. Early in the morning each day and every day, we share something weird to make people laugh at WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. You don't need to sign up for anything. You don't even need to spend a penny. Just follow the page on Facebook and get a smile to start each day when we share the weird gift of the day. Not on Facebook? That's okay. You can see the weird gifts on our website too. WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. That's WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com.
Now, surveys and studies and such. A Harris poll found that half of young Americans want to live in a socialist nation. You know, there's other places that have that.
Only because they've never lived in a socialist nation.
You can go check it out. I know people who've lived in that and then moved to places that don't have that.
Please go there. If that's the way you feel, please move there.
The ones that I've talked to don't
and
want to go back to
And then come home when you decide you want to come back to.
I've got a link to that poll if you want to read all the details.
Country.
I don't know exactly how they asked the questions.
Tiny bit of research would tell them.
Well, you never know. Again, new surveys and studies and such brought to you by BetterCreditCards.net.
Is your credit card a good fit for you? How did you even get the card you have now? Was it mailed to you? Those are usually the worst cards. They typically have higher fees and rates. Someone has to pay all that postage to mail out millions of cards every day. If you like a better credit card, check out the website BetterCreditCards.net. This is a great place to find the cards that are usually a better fit for you. BetterCreditCards.net. That's BetterCreditCards.net.
And this is Your Brain on Drugs, brought to you by TimeForRehab.com. A North Carolina man who was charged with driving while impaired asked an officer to share a bottle of Fireball whiskey with him. It had been confiscated during an earlier stop, so they had that in the vehicle. 33-year-old Kyle Ryan Elliott was charged with driving while impaired, failure to maintain lane control, failure to stop at appropriate marked stop signs, and failure to comply with licensed restrictions and a DMV address change violation. So he moved and didn't get a new license. Anyway, he had glassy eyes, smelled of booze after getting 2 positive indications of alcohol from a breathalyzer, and failed a sobriety test. He was taken into custody. And he was put in the back of the car. He saw a bottle of Fireball whiskey on the floorboard of the front of the car. And he said, "Hey, you going to share that with me since I'm already drunk?" No, he didn't get any of it. Bad idea. That is what happens, though, when your brain is on drugs. Now, big screen, little screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com. Former Tonight Show host Jay Leno says he does not miss doing late-night TV because now everyone is too obsessed with politics. Here's the thing, Jay, I agree with you. I used to watch late-night TV. I can't handle it now.
Yeah, I can't watch it.
I'm like, guys, just stop it. Just get over it. And I don't think most people want that. And I believe their ratings are down because of that.
Big time.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. Bachelor star Colton Underwood says he'll put a ring on Cassie Randolph's finger one day. Isn't that what the show was all about?
I thought you had to get married
I thought
on
that was
the show.
I don't know. We haven't watched the show in a while.
I've never watched the show, honestly, so I wouldn't know.
And then CBS. This is sad news for many people. Charlie, who we talk to every Tuesday, my wife's dad over here, Tuesdays with Charlie, he'll be sad. CBS says The Big Bang Theory will come to a close with a series finale on May 16th. It's a 1-hour episode that day that will wrap the sitcom's 12th and final season. The network announced in August that the show's current season would be its last. So there you go. Sad news. Thanks for listening.
Had a good run.
It did indeed. Thanks for listening to Big Screen, Little Screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com.
Here's a fun trip back to the 80s.
Surely you can't be serious.
Join us in Las Vegas for 80s in the Desert May 3rd and 4th. Hang out with other 80s fans.
International language of love.
Meet several 80s icons from the movies and rock out to awesome music from the 80s. Flock of Seagulls, The Romantics, Mr. Scandal with Patti Smythe, Thomas Dolby, Pretty Poison, and more. See the full list of bands and icons at RadioTravelGroup.com. That's RadioTravelGroup.com.
Now your scoop of the day, brought to you by BetterCreditCards.net. I've got a ton of stories to get to, so I'm going to try to cruise through as many of these as I can here. There have been a couple of crashes of the Boeing 737 MAX 8 in recent months. That prompted 22 airline carriers to ground these planes now. Sadly, the crashes have killed 346 people. And the most recent one was just last week, I believe. Over a dozen European countries have grounded them altogether. And a couple of fatal crashes in the first 5 months of the planes being out. I've got a link to that story. There's actually two stories there that I kind of crammed together, but it's all about the same thing. A Malaysia-bound airplane made a U-turn and flew back to Saudi Arabia after their mother on board said,
I saw this.
I left my infant at the airport.
Yeah, I saw this.
What? How do you forget your infant? I mean, that's kind of a big deal. It's not like the kid took off in the airport and, I don't know how you do that, but thank goodness they went back. Natalie Portman has launched her first online acting course. So if you want to learn to act like Natalie Portman, how much do you suppose it would cost?
I have no idea.
Just a wild guess for an online acting course.
6-pack and a package of beef jerky.
A little more than that. $90. $90. That's not bad to learn how to act from somebody like Natalie Portman. And then here's one that's going to probably take some time. It says, are you reading this from the comfort of a jail cell? I hope not. Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. Notoriously, I'm not drunk, I promise. Notoriously one of the biggest drinking holidays of the year. In cities all across the U.S., streets are lined with partygoers, and bars are filled with green-laden patrons for a day of booze and fun for many, many, many people. But some people overdo it. And they get flurries of tickets for disorderly conduct, public intoxication, public urination. You want to know where the hot spots are for the hoodlums, Heidi?
Sure.
I've got a list here.
I don't know where to go.
No, we don't need to go to any of these. You get in trouble right where you are. You don't need to go anywhere. So this is the top 20 places. The top 20 places where there's a spike in crime and an increase in arrests. Where would you guess number one to be, by the way? If you're going to guess, thinking about St. Patrick's Day, because it surprised me.
I don't know. I would say New York.
I was going to say Boston, but no, that wasn't number one. Number one is Savannah, Georgia. What?
Really?
Yeah. Boston is number 11, by the way. Let's see if New York is even on the list.
Buffalo.
Yeah, New York is number 14.
Well, I saw Buffalo, New York.
So I'll go through the top 10. I mentioned number 11 was Boston, and I mentioned New York was number 14. I've got a link to this if you want to read all of them. But number 10 is Seattle, Washington. Number 9, Chicago, Illinois. Number 8, San Diego, California. Number 7, Buffalo, New York. Number 6, Kansas City, Missouri. Number 5, Denver, Colorado. Number 4, Detroit, Michigan. Number 3, Cleveland, Ohio. Number 2, Cincinnati, Ohio. And the number 1 place where there's a big spike in crime on St. Patty's Day. So yesterday was a big day for hoodlums here in Savannah, Georgia. So there you go.
Interesting.
That didn't take as long as I thought it would take. So now I can move on to these other stories. See, I had enough stuff to get me through just in case I needed it. So I've got it here. Scientists say old age begins at this number. How old do you think it is when your mental abilities start to decrease? When old age sets in?
54.
No, 27.
Oh.
We are so feeble right now. It says, Scientists say old age begins officially at 27 as mental powers start to decline. In fact, researchers found people's mental abilities peak at age 22. We have a son that's 22, and he does think he's the smartest man in the world, and he just might be. It says before that, you're actually still learning, and then that's kind of the peak, and then after that, you've got about 5 good years until you start declining. Researchers say the results suggests that therapies designed to prevent or reverse age-related conditions may need to start way earlier than we thought before. It says long before people become retired. So there you go. I didn't realize it, but we're all old.
Well, there you go.
Now we know. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Do you have IRS tax problems? Are they keeping you up at night? Afraid to open your own mail or even answer your telephone? If your tax problems are affecting your family life, you need to know you have options. You have rights, and we'll make sure you get them. Call and speak with Mike Habib, the tax expert who will handle your case at 877-78-TAXES or online at myirs.taxrelief.com. That's 877-78-TAXES or myirs.taxrelief.com.
It's another Movie Star Monday. Thank you so much for listening today as we join Eddie Deezen. You may know Eddie from several movies that he's been in. I remember seeing him it's been a while back, in Grease. You might remember him from Polar Express and many, many other things. Eddie, how are you doing, sir?
Very good, John. It's good talking to you.
Well, it's super nice to visit with you as well. Now, you do a lot of voice work too, don't you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I have an audition today for a DreamWorks film. I'm going to, believe it or not, they're doing a Christmas film now. It's going to be a Christmas thing. I'm going to audition for an elf. So
that's
me
cool.
Luck. I have an audition today in a couple hours, and so hopefully it'll bring me some luck, John.
Absolutely. Now, have you played an elf in any other movies?
I've done not movies. I did a Christmas movie. I did the Polar Express, but I wasn't an elf.
There you
go. I was the bad little kid in the Polar Express, but I play an elf in a lot of commercials. I used to do a lot of commercials on radio, and I would play an elf a lot of times. Yeah, because I have kind of an elf-like voice.
It's really fun. When I was showing my son, he was kind of talking to me about what I'm working on today, and I said I'm going to be visiting with Eddie Deezen, and he said he was the naughty kid on Polar Express, so he knew instantly who you were.
Yeah, but I turned good in the end.
That's good. Now, you were also in the movie War Games. I remember that with Matthew Broderick back in the day, and just so many fun movies. What was it first that got you interested in being involved in movies in this whole industry?
You know, John, I was kind of a ne'er-do-well in high school. I was the class clown, and I kind of fit in nowhere. So I wanted to give it a try as a comedian, come out to Hollywood and give it a try as a comedian. And I tried stand-up. I worked at the Comedy Store in a couple clubs, and I didn't like that much. So I was hoping I could drift into movies because that would be easier for me. And then luckily I lucked into Grease. Grease was actually my first film. So I started out with a very good one. And
you were Eugene in Grease, and for people that are trying to maybe remember, what was Eugene? He wasn't one of the Thunderbirds, was he? How do you describe who Eugene is?
Eugene, I always said, was the only guy in Grease who wasn't cool. Everybody, all the other guys, at least the young guys, were all pretty cool. Even Craterface, the bad guy, they're all cool. They had black leather jackets, pretty tough guys, Fonzie types. And I was the one non-cool guy. I had my little Pee Wee Herman outfit, my little ice cream outfit with the little red bow tie, So I was the non-cool guy.
But you were a really nice guy, right?
Yeah, I was a nice guy. I think nerds are usually pretty nice guys. They're usually harmless, but the rest of the world, treats them with disdain. They kind of pick on them. Nerds are kind of outcasts, so that's what Eugene was. Well,
Eugene was also reprised in Grease, too, so you got to be in both Grease movies. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I lucked out. It was me. B.D. Kahn was in the second one. Dennis C. Stewart, who was Craterface, was in the second one, too. A few of us were brought back. Grease 2, to me, again, all movies are subjective, as you well know, John. It's all subjective, your opinion. But Grease 2 can't hold a candle to Grease, in my opinion. I think some people like Grease 2 better than Grease. And I go, that's like saying you like The Wiz better than The Wizard of Oz.
I liked them both, so I could see both perspectives. I also like 1941, and you were Herbie in 1941. What was it like working with that cast and crew? That had to be kind of interesting.
Well, first of all, it was an honor working with Steven Spielberg. He was a magnificent director, as everybody knows. You don't need me to say that, but he was great. John Belushi I loved. I miss John to this day. He was a great guy. Dan Aykroyd, super nice guy. I remember Dan Aykroyd believes in extraterrestrials, I remember. And I remember him saying they're out there, UFOs. He was very into that. And I remember he collected badges, too. He showed me his badges. He was a real nice guy. Anyway, one day I was on the set, John, and I was, I was a 22-year-old kid, this geeky little kid, and Steven Spielberg turns to me and goes, Eddie, you want to go to lunch with us? So my jaw drops to the floor. Wow. It was Steven Spielberg, John Belushi, and Dan Aykroyd. They had me have lunch with them. I swear, John, I was so nervous, I didn't say a word. I sat there like an idiot for an hour, my jaw dropping, while those three all talked. And I realized I didn't have any money for lunch to pay. Luckily, Spielberg picked up the tab, so I left out.
Oh, that is awesome. And then there's a movie that it's one of my favorites. Growing up, I bet I watched this at least a dozen times. It's called Midnight Madness. and you were the white team leader, Wesley, and it's kind of like a scavenger hunt kind of thing. How would you describe that movie?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird remake of Mad World. It was not as good as Mad World, but it was a remake. There were 5 teams, and we go on a treasure hunt, and we're all trying to find the hidden treasure. It was Michael J. Fox's first film, and it was an early film with Pee-wee. My old pal Pee-wee Herman was in that, and I always thought Pee-wee got the idea for his character from Grease. You could see my outfit in Grease is just like Pee-wee Herman's. And I think Pee-wee, he's a nice guy. He's a very nice guy. I think he did credit me with a little bit of the Pee-wee character. So he kind of got the idea from that. But Pee-wee and I became immediate friends. Michael J. Fox was a wonderful guy, great to work with, wonderful cast. Yeah, it was a very fun movie. That one was unusual, John, in that it had 2 directors. Michael Nankin and David Wechter. We had co-directors. It's the only film I ever worked with 2 different directors.
Well, that's really cool. We had mentioned earlier a little bit about War Games, but let's talk a little bit about that, because that's another a phenomenal movie that still holds up today.
Yeah, War Games, first of all, I was the first computer nerd in that. That was the first computer nerd ever. That was me in War Games. The character was created there. But here's an unusual one, John. They actually changed United States security. President Reagan changed the security of America because of War Games. War Games, Reagan watched the film, and he saw how you could tap into our security system, how easy it was. And Reagan changed the security codes or some kind of security system in America because of the film War Games. So it's actually kind of a historic film, too. Matthew Broderick was a wonderful guy, a great guy, and my partner, Maury Chaikin, my comedy partner in the movie, was a wonderful guy. Unfortunately, Maury's passed away, but he was a great guy to work with. Very funny man.
Well, and you've had so many opportunities to do a ton of animated films and television programs, Dexter's Laboratory, Oswald, Pigs Next Door, just so many things where you provide a character and you don't have to do a fake voice, because your real voice is just an awesome voice.
Pretty much so, yeah. My voice has always kind of been nerdy like this. I talk very fast. It's always been kind of high pitched, so my voice has always been pretty much like this. So yeah, I pretty much play myself. My character's pretty much like me too. I think I kind of exaggerated more to make them kind of clumsier and stupider in the movies, but the character's a lot like me too. I'm kind of a nerdy guy in real life too.
Well, and you know what? I think nowadays that's probably better. When you think about the world we live in today, it's good to be a nerd now, isn't it?
Maybe you're right. Maybe they're kind of in now. Maybe not so much outcast, not so much, disliked, disdained as much as they used to be. Hopefully I've helped with that. Hopefully the movie nerd characters have helped with that. That would be a nice thing to hear.
Absolutely. And
nerds are usually good people.
When you look at, some of the people that create, like the big companies, Facebook, the leader of that, he's kind of a nerdy guy. And Bill Gates is kind of a nerdy guy. And they've done very well for themselves.
Mr. Zuckerberg, you're right.
And they've done very well for themselves, and they've also, think about how they've changed our lives. Everybody, everybody that picks up a smartphone and uses it, that was created by some really smart person, that may be considered nerdy. So it's not a bad thing to be a smart person that's, changing the world.
No, you make an excellent point, John. You're right. And I happen to be a Facebook nut. I'm addicted to Facebook, so I'll always be grateful to Mr. Zuckerberg for giving us that.
Absolutely. Well, I know you said you have an interview to go to, an audition. Do you do quite a few auditions nowadays, or when people are looking for your kind of voice, do they kind of call and just say, Eddie, hey, we're looking for you. You're the one. How does that work?
Well, John, I was very sick for a couple of years. I was back in Maryland. I got back to LA. I've only been back here for less than a month, to be honest. So I just started going out on auditions again. This is about my 3rd one. And, sometimes I'll ask for EddieDeezen types. And as you know, John, that's the ones you never get. I'll ask for an EddieDeezen type on camera, and I don't get it. I'll ask for an EddieDeezen voice. I don't get it, So, but luckily, they just want an elf for this one, so not so much an EddieDeezen type. So hopefully I'll get this one. Hopefully we'll do another interview months, in the future, and I'll say, John, remember I talked to you that day and I had the audition? Well, I got the role, so hopefully I'll get the role.
I'm going to be praying for you. I hope that goes well. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with us, and I wish you the very best at the interview.
John, it's my pleasure, and continued success with your show.
Absolutely. Again, EddieDeezen has been our guest today for another Movie Star Monday. I'm going to throw a link in our show notes to several of the places you can find him. Like I said, in Grease and Polar Express, and just a ton of awesome stuff. And my favorite, which I need to go out and watch again, Midnight Madness. When I was a kid, I watched that so many times, and I didn't realize that was Michael J. Fox's first movie. That's cool. It's a lot of fun, so you're going to have to check it out. I'll throw a link in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
Is your credit card a good fit for you? How did you even get the card you have now? Was it mailed to you? Those are usually the worst cards. They typically have higher fees and rates. Someone has to pay all that postage to mail out millions of cards every day. If you like a better credit card, check out the website bettercreditcards.net. This is a great place to find the cards that are usually a better fit for you. BetterCreditCards.net. That's BetterCreditCards.net.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
It has snowed in downtown Los Angeles. It says here, famous for their hot winters, L.A. is not totally unfamiliar with snow. In fact, in January 1949, a 3-day snowstorm in the San Fernando Valley reaped nearly a foot of snow in Los Angeles. It is the greatest snowstorm in the city's history. A foot of snow over the course of 3 days back in January of 1949.
Huh.
So that's kind of cool. Thanks for listening. This is today's fun fact on the John and Heidi Show.
Here's a fun trip back to the 80s.
Surely you can't be serious.
Join us in Las Vegas for 80s in the Desert May 3rd and 4th. Hang out with other 80s bands.
International language of love.
Meet several 80s icons from the movies and rock out to awesome music from the 80s. Flock of Seagulls, The Romantics, Mr. Scandal with Patty Smythe, Thomas Dolby, Pretty Poison, and more. See the full list of bands and icons at radiotravelgroup.com. That's radiotravelgroup.com.
Now, fear this. Time for fun with phobias. Dromophobia, Heidi. Dromophobia. Dromophobia.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to figure this out. The fear of crossing streets.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that means. Dromophobia. Today's fun with phobias. It's a fear of crossing streets. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday.
Do you have a pretty good sense of humor? You might like this. Early in the morning each day and every day, we share something weird to make people laugh at WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. You don't need to sign up for anything. You don't even need to spend a penny. Just follow the page on Facebook and get a smile to start each day when we share the weird gift of the day. Not on Facebook? That's okay. You can see the weird gifts on our website too. WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. That's WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com.
Now some weird news brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. Merry Old England, a courier who's delivering parcels, is wearing a pair of pants. It says on here trousers, but we probably know them more as pants, where he's chopped a giant hole out of the front of the pants to expose himself.
Oh.
He's now been convicted of 10 counts of indecent exposure. This guy is known as the Naked Carpenter before. Robert Jenner. He's dubbed as the Naked Carpenter. He became notorious for refusing to renovate his home with his clothes on. He's an ex-soldier and a self-styled naturist, I think is what they say. It's not naturalist, naturist. He insists that his actions have never left anyone, quote, alarmed or shocked. But
Are you sure?
Well, the jury disagreed. He walked through a shopping center in clear trousers. So he was wearing some pants that were just clear. You could see right through them. He's 43. He's been delivering parcels for a nationwide courier service called Hermes, and he's been wearing pants with his hole cut in the front.
Wow.
And he was seen by a bunch of teenage girls as he's walking through an alley and exposing himself.
Yeah,
he claimed the delivery customers found it amusing while he was on trial, but due to be sentenced later this week. Apparently the court system did not find the humor in it.
No.
Hopefully he showed up to court covered up. I don't know what was going on. That's a weird story. It's why it's today's Weird News. Now your moment of duh, brought to you by FunkyMonkeyShirts.com, a pet store in Cape Coral, Florida, used surveillance cameras to help arrest a regular customer who's been stealing feeder mice. What were you thinking, man? He's 45. His name is Kevin Volkberg. He was arrested and charged with grand theft. Here's what he's been doing. They've noticed their mouse inventory has been very bizarre. It's not adding up. So, about 3 weeks ago, they installed a surveillance system. These cameras captured images of Mr. Volkberg as a regular customer who's been going there for 3 years. He would come in and switch out burnt heating bulbs for new ones in the display shelf. So he would actually come in with a burnt-out bulb from his house. He'd unscrew a working bulb, put in the burnt-out bulb, and stick it in his pocket. Then he would pull a baggie out of another pocket, and he would take numerous feeder mice and stick them in the bag and put it back in his pocket. He did this at least 7 different days at the store before he finally got caught. He'd been caught all along, but they hadn't charged him.
Much are feeder mice?
Can't be that much.
They can't be that
I
much,
don't know.
right?
But, yeah, the camera system...
And light bulbs, we know. Those aren't that...
Not expensive. But
wow.
the camera system helped rat this guy out, if you will. That was a feeble attempt, wasn't it?
A little bit.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Is your credit card a good fit for you? How did you even get the card you have now? Was it mailed to you? Those are usually the worst cards. They typically have higher fees and rates. Someone has to pay all that postage to mail out millions of cards every day. If you like a better credit card, check out the website bettercreditcards.net. This is a great place to find the cards that are usually a better fit for you. bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net.
Now, these three things, Heidi, tell me what do these three things have in common? If you get this, by the way, you are doing good. Okay. I don't know what this even means. A tennis shop. I don't know what that means. The royal family and the music industry. So the royal family and the music industry, I get it. But the tennis shop, I don't get that. Do you know? You want to guess? Royal family, the music industry, and a tennis shop. They all have...
Beats?
No, Beats. The royal family has Beats.
I'm sure they like Beats.
They all have princes. So a prince, you know, in the royal family makes sense. Prince, the music industry, Prince. But a tennis shop? There's a Prince in a tennis shop? I don't play tennis.
Prince isn't that a brand of tennis balls and tennis rackets? Apparently.
Now we know. This is these three things. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap things up around here with good news, and I think this is good news. It comes your way courtesy of radiotravelgroup.com. Again, I want to just apologize for saying that wrong many times, but I'm getting it right now. Radiotravelgroup.com. Here's the good news headline. When two dogs became trapped in the ice, the perfect Russian rescuer just happened to be walking by. So this video online, you can actually see these dogs went out on the ice, and the ice is getting thin, you know, in this area when this happened. So an average bystander might be reluctant to jump into icy water to save these two canines, but luckily, Timofey Yurev, I've never heard Timofey before, Timofey, Timofey Yurev, happened to be in the right place at the right time. He was spending time in Canada, but he grew up in Siberia. And needless to say, he's accustomed to the cold temperature. This 45-year-old is also a very experienced swimmer and a free diver. His very unique skill set came in handy when he and his wife were walking their dog around a reservoir in New York. Upon investigating the nearby cries of a frantic woman, he saw that her two Labradors had run onto the surface of the frozen water and then crashed through. So that is when he stripped down and jumped in the water and saved these dogs. So isn't that crazy?
That's cool.
The woman actually tried to keep him from going in the water, but he insisted on taking the plunge. And there's video you can see, and there's photos here of this man. Yonkers man saves dogs from frozen reservoir. So I believe he lives in Yonkers, New York now.
That's really
but he's
that's
from
really
Siberia.
Great that he was willing to.
Didn't it say somewhere up here something about Canada? Yeah, he spending time in Canada. So from Siberia, he moved to Canada, then from Canada to Yonkers. Okay. I was very confused for a second there. I have a link to the story if you want to read it.
I'm still confused. But
yeah. So.
Anyway, long story short, he jumped in the water to save some dogs. He's a hero.
Yes, he did. There you go. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. I've got a link to this and all of our other fun stuff in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.